coalition will hope that a few emphatic strikes, so strikes that matter, that do destroy stocks of missiles and drones, are enough to make the Houthis stop doing this, mostly because Iran then realizes that this has gone up, this has escalated to the point where they may not be able to control how the escalation then proceeds. And that is the big unknown here, which is if a coalition led by the US strikes the Houthis, an Iranian proxy, the Houthis are likely to want to push back, but will consult with their paymasters. And the strategic question is, what does Iran now do? And we are all very much hoping that Iran continues to take the view it does not want a regional war in the Middle East.
Joe Biden, the US president, expected to make a statement, on a similar line. There's going to be a coalition of forces led by the US on targets in Yemen. These targets are bases from which they launch the drones and the missiles on ships in the Red Sea. That's caused several ships to have to reroute. There are British and US Navy warships in the Red Sea at the moment holding defensive positions, but we know that they've been attacked by those drones and missiles from Houthi rebels based in Yemen, of course, funded by Iran. So all really interesting, real developments for you this evening. Let's get some more reaction to them with a guest for you this evening. General Sir Richard Barrons, former commander of the Joint Forces, joins us. Richard, it is all go this evening, of course. It is, I think it's safe to say, ramped up a notch.
Yes, it has. And I think we are clearly about to see strikes on the Houthi capability in Yemen. So this will be where people have spotted that drones and missiles are either ready to fire or stored, and the things that support them. What we don't know, of course, is at what scale and whether this is a one-off event or whether there'll now be a series of strikes over a number of days.
Yes, okay. Let's talk about, so we also understand that we're going to get a statement from Joe Biden this evening as well. And we know that Britain's expected to join the US in targeting those military positions in Yemen. Other countries too here, so more statements from other countries, we understand, international allies. Tell us who those allies might be.
So there are about 20 countries that have joined the coalition to defend international shipping from Houthi drone and missile strikes. It's just not clear which of those countries have the capability to strike positions in Yemen, because it won't by any means be all of them, and which of those that are capable are actually willing, because although it is absolutely clear that from a UK perspective, these attacks on shipping are relevant to our security and absolutely our prosperity, other countries may have higher or lower stakes. So I don't think we will know until the strikes have occurred who is going to participate and indeed what the general reaction is going to be. Okay,
all right. Let's just repeat and reiterate what this looks like. So these are airstrikes on bases or launch pads in Yemen from which missiles and drones are launched by Houthis into the Red Sea. Is that all that we're talking about at the moment? And I'm just, keen to know how long the UK, US and other countries might continue to do that for and what the effect might be. I just wonder whether you think the Houthis are going to be deterred by this. Is there going to be any intervention from Iran?
So the first thing is the coalition, whoever it is, led by the US, that's about to conduct these strikes, will have spent recent days, in fact, recent weeks, trying to establish what the targets are. And they will have made some choices about what they're going to strike tonight. And they'll be struck with a combination of missiles from ships, from submarines, and from aircraft. I imagine that they will try not to put fighter jets over the top of Yemen where they might risk being shot down. So this will mostly be, I think, missile strikes, but we'll see. And I think the coalition will hope that a few emphatic strikes, so strikes that matter, that do destroy stocks of missiles and drones, are enough to make the Houthis stop doing this, mostly because Iran then realizes that this has gone up, this has escalated to the point where they may not be able to control how the escalation then proceeds. And that is the big unknown here, which is if a coalition led by the US strikes the Houthis, an Iranian proxy, the Houthis are likely to want to push back, but will consult with their paymasters. And the strategic question is, what does Iran now do? And we are all very much hoping that Iran continues to take the view it does not want a regional war in the Middle East.
Yeah, that is what we've been hearing, is that there's no appetite by Iran for war with the West. And that certainly seems to sort of still be the case. But it does depend, doesn't it, how far the Houthis are willing to push the button.
So this will depend in part on the decisions that have been made about what to hit tonight and whether it is a one-off encounter or whether it's going to be repeated on subsequent days. And there is important law that surrounds this. These strikes by the coalition in UK law have to be necessary, and that's justified by the security risk and indeed the risk to our prosperity. They have to be proportionate so that the strikes can be against the platforms and stocks of drones and missiles, because they are the things that cause harm to shipping, and they have to be discriminate. So it's about destroying these weapons, and there would have been a lot of thought about not causing great collateral damage. But this is a risky business, and what we'll have to watch is what is the Houthi reaction. And then we'll also have to remember that many parties in the Middle East will see these strikes as siding with Israel connected to Gaza. And there will be blowback in some forms, could be terrorism around the region against US and possibly UK interests, because they will have interpreted these strikes as being supportive of Israel.
Do Hezbollah have any stake in this? And I say that because, Hezbollah, based in Lebanon, also affiliated, also backed by Iran too. Is there any involvement, any fear of, escalation from them? We already know that in northern Israel, southern Lebanon, there is plenty of action going on there between Israel and Hezbollah, and that has increased within the last week or so. Those strikes between parties. Could this cause any further acceleration there, or will Hezbollah want to stay out of this one?
So I think the key point, and you made it, is that Lebanese Hezbollah is an Iranian proxy, as are the Houthis. So they'll both look to Iran, which is where the money and much of their weaponry comes from. So if Iran decides that things have gone as far as they sensibly can now, then Lebanese Hezbollah will be restrained from acting in support of their Houthi co-travelers. If Iran were to decide, and my view is right now that is unlikely, that these strikes were the straw that breaks the camel's back, now is the moment to unleash their proxies against Israel and US and indeed UK interests, and we were going for a massive escalation, then we would expect Lebanese Hezbollah to engage certainly Israeli targets in northern Israel. I think that's pretty unlikely.
Are you surprised by this step from the UK and the US this evening at all? It feels like it's been brewing, but now it's here. I think I'll be honest and say it feels urgent now.
Well, it is urgent because of the effect on international shipping, and we need to be absolutely clear that the energy supplies to the UK, things like liquid natural gas, the flow of goods from Asia that sustain our economy, our manufacturing, and the consumption in our households. This relies on the global maritime commons, and it relies for its price on going through the Suez Canal. So it has been clear for some time that in the way that the Houthis have interrupted the flow of shipping that is coming to the UK, this has a significant potential effect on our economy and inflation. So it has to be addressed. And the vital point for this evening is, will whatever action is about to be taken manage to put a cork in this? So is this going to stop the Houthis trying to attack international shipping, in which case we will be in a process of de-escalation. If the Houthis are emboldened and enabled by Iran to keep going and do more, then we will have to see more strikes, and then other questions will arise, like where next, and does there have to be some sort of ground incursion, which I think we are a long way away from now. And I don't think we need to trouble ourselves with that too much just now.
Look, sensible analysis there. Thank you so much, General Sir Richard Barrons, former commander of the Joint Forces. Great to speak to you this evening on Times Radio. Hugely appreciated.